just wanted to talk about my predictions for what I think is going to happen in the year 2026. Bearing in mind that, I don't really put a lot of emphasis on the calendar that we're using, because it's the Gregorian calendar. It's inaccurate. It's not God's calendar. Okay. So I've already done a video just a few minutes ago talking about why I don't celebrate New Year's. Same reasons why I don't really put a lot of emphasis on this calendar, because it's the Roman Catholic calendar named after Pope Gregory. Okay, but since almost the whole world uses this calendar, and I know that there are other countries such as China that also have their own calendars, and the Orthodox Church in Russia also have their own calendar, and there may be others as well that have their own calendar. But I think what's happening is that even those who have their own calendars are forced to align themselves with the Gregorian calendar for the purposes of commerce and doing trade and keeping up with the rest of the world. So sometimes some of these countries end up with two calendars. But so I was just saying, I want to give you my predictions for what I think is going to happen in the year 2026, and I'm referring to this year that we've just started. Making predictions for this year, even though I don't really believe in the Gregorian calendar, but we are all forced to use it. Like it says in Daniel chapter 7, 25, the middle part of that verse, it says, speaking of the papacy, that he shall think to change times and laws. So everyone is basically this calendar is being foisted on the whole world. So what are my predictions? And before I actually give you my predictions or my thoughts on what I think is going to happen this year, I just want to say that I am not a prophet. I'm not claiming to be a prophet. Only God decides who is a prophet or who is a prophetess. Okay, here in Zimbabwe we have a lot of these false prophets who basically decided for themselves that they are prophets, and they are basically not prophets. They're actually just trying to make money by saying they're prophets and making all these false prophecies and stuff like that. And some of them are even getting arrested over here and ending up in jail. So I'm not a prophet. I am making these predictions based on what my personal experience is, what I've studied, and also, which is kind of still on the lines of my personal experiences, is what has happened in the past, especially from, let's say, especially from the year 2020 up to where we are now. What has happened? I believe that what has happened between 2020 and 2025 will continue to be ramped up. But we can go as far as 9/11. If you go back to 9/11 and what happened afterwards, the introduction of the surveillance state, where all our activities are being monitored, whether it's online or even physically on the ground. In whatever we're doing, we're being monitored. There are cameras everywhere. So all this is going to ramp up. So just and without making this a very long video, just a few things that I think are going to happen. So I believe that the Depop agenda is going to continue in various forms. So not only through the pharmaceutical industry, but I believe that's one of the main things that they're going to use. So you see with the scamdemic, that the scamdemic came to an end, I would say mostly in 2024 for most countries. But it does not mean that it went away. It's still carrying on in the background. We still have people that are still taking the poison darts, thinking that it's good for them. That's still there in the background, and I know that there's resistance in some quarters, and even in America they are saying that some of the jabs should be removed, especially for children. There are some good things happening, but remember that there are many characters or individuals that have said that promoted the idea of depopulation, but yes, one of them being Henry Kissinger, who said that depopulation should be the main agenda for the third world. I'm not quoting him word for word, but he did say that. But the main one I would say is there's a man called Jacques Attali. I don't know whether he's still alive or not, but he was a member of the Bilderbergers, which is one of these secretive organizations that they actually meet, sometimes referred to as the Bilderberg Group, but anyway, they meet once a year in different parts of the world. What they've been doing recently is that they've actually been having these meetings more secretly than they have in the past, because in the past they've had lots of journalists outside whatever venue they're having, with these especially independent journalists harassing them and taking photos of them and then reporting who was attending the meeting. So the past few years they've been trying to do this very secretly, still having the members of the Bilderberg Group fly out from different parts of the country to meet, but they are trying to do it more secretly. So I was talking about Jacques Attali, who's a member of the Bilderberg Group. He wrote a book called Verbatim, in which he mentioned a few things. There's a quote from that book which is very important. But one of the main things he mentioned is yeah, sorry about that. I actually had to go back and look at what Jacques Attali actually said. I didn't want to. I'm not trying to quote the whole thing that he said in terms of depopulation, but he said just this one line. He said the future will be about finding a way to reduce the population. So that is going to be done in many different ways. Yes, some of it is done through scamdemics and the poison darts, but it can also be done through GMO, genetically modified organisms, or this GMO food basically, and chemtrails and fluoride, being put in our drinking water, and it's not just about drinking water that's got fluoride. Even when you shower or bathe in water that's got fluoride, it actually enters your body through your skin. Remember that the skin is the biggest organ on our bodies. So, which other ways are going to be used? Of course, war is another way of depopulating the earth. So what am I saying? Remember that I'm talking about my predictions for 2026, for what is going to happen in 2026. So we're going to see more wars. The depopulation agenda is going to continue in those various forms that I've mentioned, and more recently, starting, I think it started actually during the scamdemic, this whole talk of digital ID, but it's kind of ramped up towards the end of last year, 2025, that various countries around the world started talking about how they wanted their citizens to take up or to have digital IDs. So we had the UK especially, but also Europe, certain countries in Europe or in the European Union, they started talking about the digital IDs. In America as well, they started talking about that. But they don't present it exactly the way it is. They'll say that you need a digital ID to board a plane and things like that. They kind of do it, excuse me, in a slow way. Just like when during this pandemic, they said that the poke was voluntary, but then eventually started forcing it on us through mandates. And then I was just mentioning some countries that started basically trying to implement or started talking about how they wanted to implement digital IDs and to basically get their citizens to take that up. Which other countries? I think I even remember Kenya being mentioned actually, and there were some other countries I may have forgotten right now. I think Canada mentioned it. I know that Mark Carney initially denied it when he was questioned about digital IDs and whether they were going to be introduced in Canada. He denied it, but then it came out that Canada, the Canadian government, actually does want to introduce digital IDs in Canada. So definitely there's going to be more pressure on citizens of those countries that I've mentioned to take up digital IDs, and there are going to be other countries that are going to join up and say that they want their citizens to have digital ID. So we have digital IDs. I believe that they are not going away. And then we have CBDCs. And for those who don't know what CBDCs are, CBDC stands for Central Bank Digital Currency. Okay, this is basically digital currency. So we have digital ID, digital currency, basically money on your phone or money on. I always like to refer to it as money that you can't touch. Here in Zimbabwe, we already have what's called EcoCash. It's a digital currency actually, and in fact, most banking now, I don't like to refer to it as money, but let's just call it money for the sake of this video. Most of it is digital now. I know people don't use cash as much as they used to. So the point is, I think digital IDs and digital currencies are going to, they're not going away. There's going to be a move by different governments or different countries to introduce those two things. And then a third thing that I think is going to be implemented slowly in different parts of the world. I'm not saying that all these things are going to be introduced all at once in every country, or even in those countries that I've mentioned. It's going to happen slowly because there's a lot of resistance to some of these things, and especially like in the UK, we've seen lots of marches against the implementation of digital currencies. But the third thing that I think is going to happen is social credit scores, because just bear in mind that what's happening in China is going to be implemented around the world. Okay, so China is basically a surveillance state, and in fact, there's this bishop named Bishop Sorondo, if I remember his name correctly, Roman Catholic Bishop Sorondo, who said that China is the best implementer of Catholic social doctrine. So whatever is happening in China is going to be implemented around the world. It's all about, remember how they referred to there's this phrase that they came up with during this pandemic. Track and trace. That's the whole point. Reduce the population and then track and trace those who remain. So those are things that are definitely going to happen in 2026. So depopulation is going to continue in various forms, and even not just the COVID vaccines are going to have mRNA technology, but even the other vaccines as well. And I've even heard that even anesthetic for, let's say you even want to have an operation or you want to have a tooth removed, I've heard that they are going to put mRNA technology in those anesthetics. And also animals, whether it be domesticated animals. So even in America, they are trying to force the farmers to inject their cows with mRNA vaccines for no reason, because it's never been said that cows have COVID, because COVID is non-existent anyway. It's a fake disease, but they're injecting cows with that. But they're also injecting wild animals such as deer with mRNA vaccines, and they're even putting they're even putting vaccines in vegetables such as lettuce, and we are seeing a lot of fake food, fake chicken, and all this is going to continue because the thing is that this GMO food and all this fake meat, lab grown meat, these things that we have seen happening over the past few years, they are going to actually increase because the point is these fake foods and GMOs are supposed to make you sick. They're supposed to make you get cancer and get sick, and to make you get sick from different types of diseases. So, because that is another way of reducing the population. Remember, Jacques Attali said the future will be about finding a way to reduce the population. So we need to be really alert, ask God for wisdom and the spirit of discernment, so we can tell what is right and what is wrong, what is truth, what is true and what is false. What else? I believe the use of weather as a weapon is going to continue. It's also known as geoengineering. So some of what we've seen happening over the past few years and the past few decades with the increase in what are sometimes referred to as natural disasters. Some of them are actually not. I would say most of them, or if not all of them, are not natural disasters. So we've seen a lot of flooding and even earthquakes can be controlled. Those can be used as a weapon to attack countries that do not go along with the program. So weather modification, sometimes referred to as geoengineering, is going to continue. It might even ramp up and get worse. So we're going to see a lot of hurricanes, a lot of flooding, a lot of heavy rains. We're going to see a lot of tornadoes, a lot of earthquakes, and even Jesus himself in Matthew 24 predicted that there are going to be earthquakes. And yeah, we've had earthquakes in the past. It's not a new thing, but they are going to increase. Okay. So yeah, those, I think those, I don't know if I've forgotten anything, but those are the things that I think will happen in 2026. Pretty much things that have been happening already. I'm just saying they're actually going to increase, and there's going to be a lot more pressure for people in various countries, even those who don't want to take part in these things. So surveillance on the internet is going to continue. We might even be required to now have a digital ID in order to log on and use the internet and things like that. I mean, some of that is already happening in Australia, where they're saying they're doing it's being applied to children. They're saying children should not be able to access the internet. They're saying it's all about protecting children from harmful content. So we may be pressured to have some kind of identification in order to log on to use the internet, because what they want to do is they actually want to know exactly who it is who is on the internet without having to jump through hoops. So let me just do a summary of what I've mentioned. Some of what I've mentioned, I've mentioned basically the depopulation agenda, which is going to carry on in different forms, whether it be war, through vaccines, through food that's got mRNA vaccines, which will then affect your health, GMO food, chemtrails which are sprayed by aeroplanes, which we then breathe in, whatever the planes are spraying, fluoride in our water. Although fluoride is also being removed from water in different parts of the United States, and war. I mentioned wars will carry on until Jesus comes. Basically, that's an easy one to predict. I also mentioned digital IDs and CBDCs and social credit scores. All this is going to ramp up, and there's going to be a lot more pressure on citizens of different countries to take these things up in order to be able to buy and sell, in order to be able to work, because even Keir Starmer, who's the Prime Minister of the UK, has said that British citizens will need a digital ID in order to work. So basically that puts pressure on citizens of these countries where this is being introduced to be forced to take up digital ID so that they can work and be able to buy food and pay their mortgages and pay for their cars, and just in general to pay for life's expenses. It's all been done purposely to put pressure, just like the mandates during this pandemic were introduced to put pressure on the non-conformers to take up the poison darts. Yeah, those are the things. There might be new things as well that will happen. That, of course, there's going to be the issue of AI. AI will become more and more prominent. Will take over jobs from human beings, and robotics as well. A lot of people lose their jobs because things are becoming automated, which is the whole the other reason why the world is being depopulated is because they don't need that many workers. Yeah, so definitely I'd forgotten to mention AI, but AI is going to take over a lot of things. And even now, when I'm on YouTube, sometimes I come across videos that have been created with AI. I can almost tell straight away at the moment. I can almost tell because the human beings, the videos that have been made with AI that show human beings, the human beings don't look real, and also their voices don't sound human. If you know exactly what to look for, you'll know what videos have been made with AI. But I think as time goes on, it'll become more and more convincing to the extent that it's already starting to happen as well. That sometimes you can't tell the difference between a video that's been made with AI and a real video. That even sometimes the two actually get confused. So imagine in the future that you can actually be accused of a crime where your image, your as your image has been used to create an AI video where you're actually shown in the AI video doing or committing crime or doing something wrong, and then that can be presented before the courts, and then they'll say that you committed this crime because there you are on video. How are you going to argue against that? If you say it's AI, they'll say, but that's not true. So yeah, AI is going to be used in various ways, but I think the use of AI and robotics and automation, which is already happening, is going to result in even a lot more loss of jobs. Yeah, like I was also saying that there may be some actually new things that have never happened that may happen in the year 2026. Of course, we're going to see the continued use of false flags, which will be said to be terrorist attacks. Terrorism always results in more laws being introduced. Remember, there was that. I don't know if some of you have seen this video, which I actually shared on my different platforms. There was a female MP in Ireland who said that laws are actually introduced to curtail or take away human rights. Basically, that's what she said. So, as a result of so-called terrorism, which is not really terrorism in the sense of how we understand it, it's actually the state conducting false flag attacks, like this Bondi Beach false flag attack, which happened in Australia. It's already they're talking about laws being introduced to fight those kind of things, but it's all about taking away our rights, our God-given rights. So I think definitely these things that I've mentioned are going to happen in 2026, and even 2026 and beyond, they're going to continue happening, and they're going to get worse. And I know that some of what I've said is hard to believe, such as the use of earthquakes being intentionally created as a weapon to attack other countries. But there was a man who was actually assassinated for revealing some of this. I think he was a geologist or something. He was some kind of scientist, and he said that earthquakes can be created to cause death and destruction. Perhaps he didn't know why earthquakes were being used, but my understanding is that they're used as a weapon to attack countries that do not go along with the New World Order agenda. So, yeah, those are the things that I think are going to happen. I may have forgotten some things, I may have left out some things, but the general picture is that the world is going to get darker, but fortunately, the truth of God's light is going to get brighter. So, for those who are searching for truth, such as some of you who are watching these videos, God will continue to bless true and faithful Christians with more and more light. Will gain more knowledge and understanding, enlightenment and wisdom as time goes on. As the world gets dark, the light of God's truth will shine even brighter. Yeah, so that's what I wanted to share about what I think is going to happen in 2026. I hope you enjoyed the video and that it's been a blessing to you, and I'll see you on the next one.